Alrighty, so
Okay.
I guess I'll do like an intro thing. I think what I said last time was like, hey folks and welcome to, okay. Alrighty. Hey folks and welcome to the Chewy Podcast. Today is going to be our first episode, really, other than the little cheesy intro episode. So we'll just get started on how does the internet work? How does the web work? Actually, technically, so
Maybe you
okay,
should
yeah.
introduce yourself, Raph, first. That
Yeah,
could
so-
be an interesting thing to do here.
Yeah, that's probably a good idea. So I'm Raph, and I'm one of the co-founders of Éva Creative, a small design and development studio in beautiful Vancouver, British Columbia. And this is Éva. Hi, Éva.
Hi, Raph. And I'm
Who are you?
Ava. Who am I? Big question. I'm Ava. I'm the other co-founder of Éva Creative. And in this podcast, I will play the role of I'm not going to say the word because it's not appropriate. I play the role of the one that doesn't really know much about the web. And hopefully you can follow me along as we learn more about the big world wide web.
Sounds awesome. I recently put together this little video that is titled something along the lines of what happens when you go to a URL. And I figured that's a good starting point for this whole journey of how the internets work. Ava, how does the internet work? Like when you go to a URL, what's your impression of what happens? We can dive deeper into that.
First of all, my user journey looks like this. I first Google any thoughts that I have, even if I know the URL. I Google it anyways.
I
But
think my
let's
dad
say,
does that too.
thank you for putting me in that same generation. I swear I work in digital marketing, ladies and gentlemen. Okay, so when I put a URL, what I would assume happens, there's some kind of call done by some kind of web property. And then it goes and fishes for that first landing page. I'd assume maybe it loads a portion of what's there, lazy loading. And once I'm on it, there's probably some security stuff going on.
Yeah.
Maybe some other calls back and forth, maybe some crawling of some sort. And then I'm there.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think in many ways that actually does cover a lot of what happens. Some of it is maybe like the language is maybe a little different, but yeah, that's kind of it. So you've got a domain, and actually, what's your impression of what is a domain? Like what are they
Domain to me is
for?
like www at something.
Yeah. Yeah, that's it. And basically, okay, so you've got like a domain. So you buy mycoolwebsite.com.
Right.
And essentially what happens is that just gives you the ability to tell various services out there that mycoolwebsite.com should go to this particular server. So there's these records. And so you set up these what's called DNS records. And DNS is, man, I'm gonna screw this up. It's the domain name system. Domain name, yeah. I remember at one point, I'm just gonna look this up. DNS, yeah, domain name system. I remember I butchered it at some point. I called it the domain name something else or the domain. Anyway, but so the domain name system, and basically that is this like way of telling computers what happened, like which address a request should go to when you hook it up to a particular like name.
So that's what I'm buying when I buy a domain.
Yeah, it's just the ability to set those records for that particular name. And so when you have like mycoolwebsite.com, you can say, yeah, I want this cool website to go to that record, mycoolwebsite.com. I want it to go to the address 136.592. Whatever. Like it's
And
usually
that's the DNS.
Yeah, and so that's how DNS works is you'll have 135.69.199.23. And that's that's an IP address.
Right.
Yeah. And so those IP addresses are unique identifiers for things throughout the internet. And we could dive deeper into that and how like we've actually run out of addresses and the old version of IP addresses, IPv4, and we've moved to IPv6, and those things are a huge mess. They're really complicated. You can't just remember them like 4 little chunks of numbers. They're really long and complicated. But basically, you've told now your the rest of the internet. Basically, it goes out and it propagates throughout networks across like internet service providers and stuff. And now they all get these records. And so they know that when someone who's hooked up to the internet types in, I want to go to michaelwebsite.com, will go to that address.
Right.
And then it's like what you were saying, right? So that the browser sends out this call and says, yeah, I need to get some information from that domain. Under the hood, there's a lot of complicated stuff that happens, and we can talk about like the Facebook debacle recently where all of their stuff just disappeared. And there's some complicated DNS reasons why that happened. It's always DNS. There's a joke between developers that it's always DNS. DNS is always the problem. But that call goes through, and under the hood, the various parts of the domain name system like will tell your computer, like, actually, you don't want michaelwebsite.com. You want this IP address. And that request gets sent to the IP address.
Okay.
And then you have to, what happens then?
I don't know.
Like, once it goes through, like it gets to a server.
Okay.
And
that all happened in what, like 5 seconds?
Like milliseconds.
Half of a second. Milliseconds.
Yeah. Yeah, literally milliseconds. Like all of this gets just resolved.
Right.
And then that request goes through.
And then there's a pool of stuff, and basically we go fishing with that request.
Yeah, kind of. There's it can get like really messy, like what happens at the other end. But basically, you then need, if you're using a web browser, you're a marketer. What's the like SEO and all of those things? Like all of that depends on HTML. Yeah, basically, you need something at the other end to be like, hey, let me give you some HTML.
Okay.
Yeah. And so
what's that thing?
That might be Shopify, right? So they might have like thousands of servers that under the hood do all kinds of complicated things to be like, we're going to generate some HTML and send it back to you. Or it might be WordPress, like 33% of the internet or something like that is WordPress. Or it might be just some computer that has like an HTML file. And so, here's this HTML file you asked for. But yeah, that's what happens. So on the other end, I've got this HTML for you. It'll like look at the path afterwards, like everything after my cool website. And that's just like information that's sent over to the server, and it chooses what to do with it. So it's just, oh, you want /start page? Cool. I know what that is. Or it might be like, I have no idea what that is, but it has to send something back. Right. So it might send you back like a 404 page, or it might not. And then your browser's like, hey, nothing happened here. And then you get a little Chrome dinosaur.
What's the Chrome dinosaur?
Actually, no, that's from a different page. My bad. Have you ever tried to, like, you're on your computer, you open Chrome, and then you're not connected to the internet, and then you get a little page with a little dinosaur? What? Okay. You should at some point try to connect to or open your browser when you're not connected to the internet. And there's a little dinosaur, and if you press space, it starts running. There's a game built into Chrome where you can just doodle around on this, or you can play this little running game with the dinosaur while you wait for your internet to reconnect.
That's pretty cool. I never heard of that.
Yeah, random little Easter egg.
Like the dinosaur. It's better than the 404.
Yeah, I do. Yeah, that's. So what's next? I don't know. What?
What's next?
What is?
And then when I click.
Go for it.
If I click on something, what happens?
Same thing. Oh, it's just a mess of that.
Wow.
Tangled web of links. But yeah, basically your browser knows how to render that HTML, so it just plops something on the screen. And then you were talking about sending other requests. Yeah, when a page says it's got an image, it's going to send another request like that. And for each image, for each like other resource that might be loaded by a page.
How does the web handle that volume of requests at that speed?
I don't even understand. Like it blows my mind pretty regularly. That's I might load this page. Have we've loaded the Chrome DevTools before a few times, and you've seen so many.
Yes,
right?
we
Like,
did.
there's so many things that like you're loading up like Intercom or Segment or whatever, and there's 20,000 other tools or your Google Analytics and all of those things. Just each of them is a request like that. And so one request might suddenly turn into 150 requests.
Yeah. It's pretty crazy.
And, it's wild. And each image too. You got like a page with a bunch of images, icons, like stuff like that.
Yeah.
Every one of those is one of those requests. It's wild, wild.
It's wild.
Yeah.
Cool. I feel
that's
more
kind of it.
educated. I'm still confused, but I feel more educated. I feel like I get a good sense of what happens every time I go through the www world.
Yep.
So hopefully the folks that are listening also feel that they have a better understanding. And then, okay, last question. I close the podcast, but how would like a deployment stack do anything about it? Would that be involved in this, or it just has nothing to do with it?
If you need to get a server up and running somewhere. Okay, so that computer that's like listening at address like 139 whatever. How do you like? Yeah, so you need a computer to listen for those requests, and so there's a bunch of tools that you can use, like Heroku or Vercel or Netlify or DigitalOcean or AWS or GCP or all of these different things are like different ways of spinning up a server that is going to listen for those requests when someone types it into their URL or whatever. And yeah, so there's a bunch of tooling out there that exists to quickly deploy servers to those services, including like the stuff that we're building at Chewy, which will make it super easy to do a whole lot of complicated stuff, but without all of the messy complexity to get one of those servers up and running, which I think is what you were hinting at there.
Yep. Yeah, I was hinting at something that I didn't know about. I was hoping you'd actually point me in the right direction. Sounds like you did.
Yeah. So basically, we're going to try and make it super simple to get a server up and running, probably initially on DigitalOcean because it's nice and friendly. We like DigitalOcean.
I think you're going down the rabbit hole. I think people don't necessarily know what DigitalOcean is.
Okay. It's a company.
Okay.
Yeah.
Maybe the topic of our next podcast.
Yeah, or maybe the sponsor of our next podcast.
Oh,
that would be nice, wouldn't it?
Yeah, sponsored by DigitalOcean. And if that's the case, I will have to read about them so that I don't say, what is DigitalOcean while they sponsor us.
Yeah. We actually do use them for a lot of our clients.
There you go.
Yeah. So,
all right. Thanks for the explanation. That was a cool definition.
Thanks, Éva. Yeah. It's a fun chat.
Yeah. Okay, cool. Bye.
All righty. Bye. Thanks, folks. Thanks for listening. And tune in for the next episode where we, talk about JavaScript. Should we talk about JavaScript? What's JavaScript?
Yeah, let's talk about JavaScript. Or let's talk about Ruby. Because I feel you love Ruby on Rails. No, too crazy.
Ruby's okay. We do other stuff.
Okay. JavaScript.
All right. Yeah, let's do JavaScript instead. All right.
Okay.
See you, folks.
Bye.